going to discuss the buttons on the Honeywell Talkman voice devices. Each of the devices has 4 common buttons that are going to be universal across the different platforms. We have the play pause button, which is primarily responsible for putting the device into sleep mode or waking the device up. When a device is in sleep mode, you can have a conversation without the device actually listening to you. There also is the plus and minus options, which are primarily used for increasing or decreasing the volume, but can also be used when you're navigating through a menu option and you want to find, say, an operator. You can go and press the plus button to go A through Z through the templates until you hear the operator's name, at which point you could use the operator button to select that particular option. Operator button is primarily used to load your operator, but also doubles as an enter key. On this particular unit, there happens to be a scanner. So there's an additional button for this one that will enable the scanner to turn on if the prompt at that particular area allows you to do so. All of those options are primarily capable through the button presses. However, we want you to focus on the ability to use those with voice, maintaining a hands-free, eyes-free environment. For example, if you want to put the device to sleep, you can simply say Talkman sleep and it will go into a sleep mode. Or Talkman wake up to wake it back up, or Talkman louder, Talkman softer, etc. Now we're going to explore the menu options available on the Talkman device. We're going to go through the standard options, however it may vary depending upon the device and firmware that you're running at your facility. So once it's connected to your headset, all you'll need to do on a device is we're going to press the operator button to enter into the menu options. So a little bit more about these other buttons there is that once you're inside the menu, you can then press the plus and minus buttons to navigate through the various menus that are there. If you want to select something, you use this operator button to select that particular menu option that you are located on. If at any point you need to cancel out of there, you press the play pause button and it'll return you back into the sleep mode at the last known prompt that you were at. So I'm going to go ahead and press the operator button and explain the menu options.
Current operator is Eric Solis. Select menu item.
So I'm going to select the menu item by pressing the plus button.
Noise sample.
So noise sample is available if you need to recalibrate the microphone. You could also say the phrase Talkman noise sample to do this option.
Retrain word.
Retrain word. If you are unable and the device is not able to understand you at a certain word or phrase in a certain prompt, you could then go into this menu option, and if the word is available at that prompt, you could locate the word and retrain that one specific word.
Change operator.
Changing an operator is useful if your operator is not the one that's currently active on this device. That gives you the ability to then go into the menu option, find your operator, and load that particular operator.
Change speed.
Changing the speed, as you become more proficient with the system, you may wish to increase the speed. To do this, you could also do this with a hands-free, eyes-free method of saying Talkman faster or Talkman slower.
Change pitch.
Changing the pitch allows you to increase or decrease the pitch.
Change speaker.
Changing the speaker allows you to go from a male to a female option.
Battery status.
Battery status provides you with the hours remaining of life on the battery.
Report problem.
Reporting a problem is very useful if you wish to then send a problem report to the host, and now a supervisor could analyze the details. This is another one that you could say the phrase Talkman report problem.
Change task.
Changing a task. So if you're moving from a training task to a production task, then you could easily just use that to locate the appropriate task and press the operator button to select your option, and then it would then load that task. Now if I press the plus button one more time, it
Voice
moves
sample.
back up to the very top option in the menu. So if I want to cancel out of that again, all I have to do is press the play pause button.
Operation cancel. Good night.
We will be going over the Talkman A700, A700X LED indicators. First, on the left side of the screen, we have the green statuses. In the center of the screen, we have the yellow statuses. On the right side of the screen, we have the red statuses. On this screen, we have the Bluetooth status on the left side and the network status on the right side. On this screen, we have the NFC status and the battery charging status. And lastly, we have the battery health indicator.
Restarting an A700 or an A700X device is fairly simple. Of the 4 buttons that you have here at your disposal, you'll notice that there's a yellow one here that we call the play pause button, and there's also a flashing green light. In order to restart the device, you power it off first by pressing and holding the ring around the yellow button. It says so.
Powering off.
And there it's restarting. Once it's shut off, you can restart it by pressing the same button again. Removing the battery from a Talkman device causes an immediate, non-graceful shutdown. The operator must press the yellow play pause button to restart the device once the battery is replaced. You should only pull the battery out when directed by a supervisor or technician. Removing the battery at any other time could cause data to be lost and will definitely result in a need for the operator to wait for the device to reboot, which could take anywhere from 2 to 4 minutes. Pull the battery only as a last resort if a device seems to be unresponsive.
Okay, now we're going to take a look at the differences between the A700X line of Talkman devices and the A700 line of Talkman devices. So the A700 series came out in 2012, and the A700X series came out in late 2018. So on the outside, you can see not much has changed. They do use a universal battery, so the batteries are interchangeable between the A700X and A700 series. The buttons, you'll see, stays the same. There's been some updated branding for the Honeywell branding and logo. It's black, as well as there's been some updates to the scanner on the A700X to make this a solid piece of plastic and an improved scanner button. On the inside, you'll have all the basic hardware stack updates that you expect, as well as the addition of additional sensors. So this can register step count data, gyroscope data, accelerometer, detect falls, and things like this, and you'll be able to access this through the API in your development environment. Also in the inside, on the software side, we've gone from Windows CE to a Linux-based operating system. Additionally, the A700X line of Talkman devices supports what's called Pick Up and Go. So this is a speech recognition engine that doesn't require a user to train their voice. This can greatly improve the onboarding process, especially for seasonal workers, being able to start using the device in much less time. Overall, the A700X line of devices offers a lot of improvements and has the potential to greatly improve your operation. Okay, now we're going to talk about the steps you need to take to assemble a belt for use with your Honeywell Voice Talkman units. So the first thing you want to start with is the belt itself. You want to be holding it with the open end up and the Velcro facing away from you. Next step is you grab your holster, and you want to have your holster facing up and away from the Velcro. So the first thing you're going to do is place the belt through the bottom hole of your holster and pull the holster down to close to the bottom of the Velcro, and then feed the belt through the top hole of your holster until it looks like this. And the next thing you're going to put on is this strap keeper loop. So you feed the belt through there and pull it down to right next to your holster. And then finally you take the male end of the clasp, and for this one you have the Velcro facing here, and you want to put the male end facing away from the Velcro.
And you fold over the belt so the Velcro holds, and then you can use your strap keeper loop to keep the end of the belt from flapping. And that's it. Now you have an assembled belt. Okay, now we're going to talk about the process of wearing a belt and holstering your voice device. Now, before I put the belt on, I just want to explain that this holster has a rail system where your voice device will slide into the rails, as well as a little plastic piece that will rest inside the groove on your voice device to hold it securely in place. So to get started, first thing you want to do is find a belt in the appropriate size. And the holster has an open end, and you want to make sure that open end is facing forward. So you start by putting the belt on. And again, you want to have the open end of the belt facing forward. You want it to be not too tight, but also not too loose that it's going to slide around all over your body. So once you have your belt on facing forward, you take your voice unit, make sure that the buttons are facing up and the device is facing forward. And you're going to slide it into the rails and back until you hear a click. And that means that little plastic piece is now resting in the grooves. So this is important. This is going to keep your device from just coming off if it gets bumped or otherwise jostled as you're working. So once you have the device off, once you're ready to unholster it, this can be tricky when you're first learning it. The best thing to do is take one hand and hold the belt so it doesn't slide around. And then with your other hand, you're going to grab the device and pull the back end of the device away from that little plastic piece and slide forward. So again, this is the part that can take a while to get used to. But again, once it's in that holster, you pull the back end of the device away and slide forward. If you need to, you can unholster the device with the belt off. You just want to make sure you hold on to both straps, and you're going to do that same process. You're going to hold the device, pull that back end away, and slide forward.
In today's video, we will be walking through on how to load a device profile or configuration to a Talkman device by using the Talkman Startup tool. First, click on the link that the support team has provided, which will download the tool. Once the tool has been downloaded, right-click on the zip file and left-click Extract All. When you click Extract All, you have the option to change the location of where you're going to extract these files. Please choose the location and click Extract. A new folder will be created that is unzipped. If you navigate into this folder, we're going to be using the Talkman Startup Tool application. If you double-click, it will launch. You will see this screen pop up if you click More Information. Click Run Anyway. Once the tool has opened, copy the voice console URL and paste it right in. You will log in with your voice console credentials. Click Login. Once you're logged in, you'll see all the device profiles listed over on the left margin along with a drop-down for which site this is for. Ensure that the device is powered off. Hold the play, pause, and the operator button until we get a solid green mode. Plug in the micro USB cable, which goes into a small flap right above the play pause button. Once the device is cabled up, you will see the serial number show up in the tool itself. Before selecting the profile that you want to load to the device, check the settings button and select the profile load type. You have 4 options here. If you plan on loading the full profile, please click on this option. If you plan on only loading the configuration and loading the rest of the profile in the charger, please click the Force Configuration option. For this demo, we will be clicking the Force Configuration option. Come over to the left margin and select the profile that you want to load to the device. The Begin Profile Load button will be highlighted. Click Begin Profile Load. The components to be loaded will show on the screen. Because we selected Forced Configuration, there's only one component that needs to be loaded. We're going to click Start. The component has been loaded completely to the device. We're going to click OK and place the device into the charger.
Now we're going to explore the functionality called TouchConfig. This feature is used so that you can take a working known device and propagate the wireless information to other devices. This is useful if you're initially setting up your warehouse or if you potentially receive back some equipment from an RMA. In order for us to do that, we're going to take a working known device, which in this case is the A730X, and we're going to propagate it out to the other A700X devices. This is useful for both A700 series and A700X series. However, it must be noted that it is only like devices that can be pushed together. So the A700s work with the A700s and the A700Xs work with their series as well. So what I need to do is I need to put this particular device into a sender mode. That way it can be the sender, the host, and propagate over to the other devices. How I would do that is simply press and hold the plus button and press and release the play pause button. When it begins to boot, it's going to take a few moments, but you'll notice on the circle of the play pause button that the lower portion is going to become solid amber or yellow color, and then the receiver is then going to begin flashing, indicating that it is now trying to either accept or send communication. Okay, so I'm going to put this one aside because this is the sender mode, it's ready to go. And now on these two devices, I'm going to put them into the receiver mode so they can now receive some communication. So what I'll do is it's the exact same process, only this time you use the minus button. So using the minus button, you press and hold minus and press and release the play pause button. Again, it's going to go through the boot process, and you'll see that now the upper portion of the play pause will begin to become solid amber or yellow. And again, it's going to start flashing. I will use that for the other one as well. So again, minus button, press and release, and it's going to begin that process. So you can see that those lights are currently like that right there. And I've purposely placed them so that the bullseye on the side of these is facing upwards. So all I need to do is now take my sender and go ahead and touch those ones there. And when it's done, it takes a few seconds, we'll then place them into the charging unit so it can receive the rest of the profile. So let me go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and tap that one, and you'll notice it flashed pretty quickly. And I tap that one, and it flashed pretty quickly. And now they're going to begin the reboot process. So I'll simply go ahead and place these into the charging unit. And through the wireless network, it receives all the other information, so you don't have to worry about any cables or anything else for setting up your devices. One of the valuable training tools is the ability to have a brand new operator follow behind and shadow an existing operator and listen to the speech, both coming from the device to the headset and what the operator themselves are speaking back into the system. In today's video, we want to show you how you can apply the appropriate settings to enable that functionality. First thing I'm going to do is in the upper right hand corner, I'm going to go ahead and click on Application Help to be able to search for how I would be able to do this particular setting. One of the settings that's in here is for the wireless headset parameters, and we're going to locate the SRX Supervisor Audio Enable. Okay, now by default, this value is going to be set to 0, which means that the supervisor audio is disabled. And they do that for bandwidth purposes to ensure that the best quality of service would be for the individual operators listening to the headset, and there's no disturbance. However, for training purposes, you can go into the task package and turn this value and change it to make it enabled for different things. By default, it's set to 0, but you could also make it set to 1, where you can listen to both the device output and the operator's speech. Or you could change the value equal to 2, where you can simply just hear the device output of what the device is speaking. So for today's demonstration, we're going to set the value equal to 2. Now again, just to make sure that you understand this, you don't want to change this value and keep it permanently on 2. Otherwise, the operator may or may not hear a decrease in performance. So once you're completed with the necessary training activities, you want to go back in there and set that value equal to 0. So all we're going to do to enable this is we're going to copy this SRX Supervisor Audio Enable, and we're going to go back into Voice Console, and we're going to find the appropriate task package, and we are going to go and change the device settings. So in this particular device settings, I already turned on the SRX Supervisor Audio Enable equal to 2. And I did that again by just clicking Edit the task package, went into the device settings, and added that value in there. When you're completed, you'll set that value back to 0. And anytime you change the value, you always want to make sure you reload the task back down onto the device. In the next portion, we're going to walk through all the hardware components to enable this particular setting and be able to listen to the audio. This next portion of the video, we're going to actually walk through what are the different components that enable the speaker to be used with this. So first of all, obviously you have to have a speaker, and the speaker itself is going to require a 3.5 millimeter jack. And there is a special connector that I have in my hand, which is a micro USB to a 3.5 millimeter jack, which you can see right there on each of these sides. And there's actually a small tiny flap right here at the very end beneath the play pause button that we're going to be able to connect these to. Now you can obtain these components from the Mountain Leverage store. So after we've set up all those settings that we just referred to in the earlier part of this video, we're now going to go ahead and attach the micro USB. That's all that is. It just sits right in there at the very end, that little flap at the end. And then on my speaker, you have that one plugged into the 3.5 millimeter jack. So now that those two are connected, right now it'll listen through the headset, but we'll be able to hear everything that's being displayed. So actually what I'm going to do for this demonstration, I'm going to move the headset off camera, and I'm going to go ahead and press and release the play pause button.
Please keep quiet for a few seconds. Good night.
Okay, pressed it twice for that one. So you can adjust the volume to make it
Softer, 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 softer.
or
Louder, louder, louder. This is loudest.
make it as loud as you can go. Now that's pretty loud, so somebody could walk around and you physically just hold on to these components and you can just follow behind somebody as long as you're within the appropriate Bluetooth range, so about so that their headset does not get disconnected, so about 10 meters. You'll be able to listen to all the audio that you can follow behind somebody and use that for our training purposes. Also wanted to show that it's the exact same feature and functionality that works with the A700X series devices. In addition, we also have a wireless option that could work with either type of device, that you can simply set up the Bluetooth to connect to the speaker, and now the operator would be working with the device along with the Bluetooth sender, and then the supervisor can walk around with just the speaker itself.
Please keep quiet for a few seconds.
In this video, I'm going to show you how you can use the headsets to control what language is loaded onto the device for your shifts. So for this example, I'm going to use this A730X, which is currently set up for English, and I have two separate headsets, one with an English-speaking operator and one with a Spanish-speaking operator. So I'm going to start with the English-speaking operator. Typically, you start your shift by grabbing a device out of the charger. It could be an A730 or A730X, A700 series rather, or A700X series. So what you're going to want to look for is this blinking indicator right there with a bullseye that lets it know that it's searching for a headset. If it's searching for a headset, there actually is an NFC chip on the side of the unit with another little bullseye that's right there. So you may or may not have noticed this, but on the SRX2 and SRX3 headset, that on the T-bar, there is another bullseye indicator on that T-bar. So what we'll do is what we call a two-tap process. The first tap is to indicate who was the last known operator to utilize this headband, and the second one is to sync up with the Bluetooth that's on the microphone. So let's go ahead. We're going to hold on to this one. I want you to take a look at this play pause button that's circling, and I'm going to tap that bullseye to bullseye on the sides, and you'll see it'll flash real fast. It's very quick with what it just received for the information of who is the last known operator. So now I'll go ahead and power on the microphone, and that's also a bullseye right there, and I will hold that there for the second tap of the two-tap process that's there. Okay, in a few moments, this will connect. All right, all is well, so I can go ahead and press the play pause button.
Please keep quiet for a few seconds. Please say
0, 1, 2.
Welcome to the Vocollect system.
Okay, great. So now let's assume it's the end of my shift and I drop my headset or my device off into the charger. I can take off my headset, and now what will happen is this piece right here is the headband. That should stay with the operator for hygiene purposes so that they're not sharing, and it also knows who the last known operator was that was on this headband. You can also take out the battery and place that back into the charger and store your microphone appropriately. Okay, so that'll be my English-speaking operator. So let's assume that the next shift comes in. Next operator that needs to grab that same device that's there, this one is going to be a separate headset. So this one I'm associating to an operator named Roberto Clemente. And so what I'll do is that same 2-tap process. First tap to indicate who grabs who is the last known person to utilize this headband was, and the second tap again was to sync up to the Bluetooth. And to show you what is happening there is if I go ahead to my operators, I have Roberto Clemente and I have associated Spanish to that operator. Also the task package. So if you have a separate task package, you can associate the task package. If it's the same task package, English and Spanish, that's okay. It all depends on how your system is designed for those. Okay, so coming back over here, you can see that it's still listed as English 6, United States, with the operator, last known operator of Esalise. And again, to repeat, you could also do this with the X series as well. I just chose to have the, I have the A730X at my house, but I could do this demonstration for you. So in a few moments, it's actually still loading the task from the last known operator. When you drop it in there, it's calling clear the task. So that task is cleared right now. Ready to start my shift. I'll pull that out. Same thing happens where I can go ahead and I can begin the 2-tap process. Tap number 1, power on, and then tap number 2. Okay, now what will happen here is it's going to sync up with the Bluetooth, and then once that syncs up, you should see this indicator start to circle yellow. And so what's going on behind the scenes is it's actually loading a different voice that's there. So it actually said changing over, and now the menu's in Spanish. So if I wanted to load or change task or operator or speed or pitch, I can do all that stuff. But instead, I'm going to press the play pause button. And it's telling me to press the operator button to load the operator Roberto Clemente. So it'll load Roberto Clemente and the task package that's associated to Roberto. All that is handled through the headsets. Hey guys, just trying to do a little bit of troubleshooting here with the Bluetooth scanner. So I have currently an A730X device, and I currently have in my hand an 8675i scanner. So just want to go through some pairing steps that are required here. So first and foremost, I have loaded a task package on this one, which is going to be my Eric voice link. And in the device settings, I made sure that I put a barcode port equals BT_scan. That is important. You can search in the help file for application help, and it will actually bring you to the to the page where you need to have the appropriate information in there. Okay, so once you have that in your task, then you have to go to your device management, find your device, highlight it, and then you're going to come down here to pair devices. We're going to pair device with selected peripheral. So I'm going to select a Bluetooth scanner, device listens, enabled, and I choose 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the default security key that's on there. So I'll pair with the peripheral, and I'll just verify that it's been in pairing mode. And you'll see it says it's pending right now. So it's listening for this one. Bluetooth's enabled, it's listening. Now what I have to do is, we actually have a document out here that does all the pairing, but I do see one anomaly that I'm going to double check on. And the anomaly I'm looking at here is this BTDNG5. What I did is I went out to the web and found the quick start guide for the 8675i, and there's a section in this quick start guide specifically for Vocollect devices. There we go, Vocollect devices. I noticed it says DNG4. No idea if that makes a big difference, but I'm gonna go with their guide. So my guide is ready to go. What I need to do is restore it to the defaults. Okay. Then I need to go to this serial port profile connector, and then I need to put the carriage return line feed suffix in there. Now it says here I have to put this LNKB with the 12 digits, make sure I have the FNC3 that's in there. So I went out to Morovia, and I had to put the ~3 LNKB. And what that does is essentially just puts that FNC in there. So I can scan this one. All right, now what we're going to listen for is if it'll properly pair. All right, I heard a good click. That good click was excellent. It says connected to my Bluetooth scanner, and I do know that that happens to be my MAC address of my Bluetooth scanner. So just following those steps right there, I was able to get it to pair. It took me a few times because I had to double check my task package, and it did not have that BT scan thing. So please double check your task package there. Once you have that going, you should be good. Just a note, if you do have the A730X device, if you want to enable voice scanning and you don't want to include the integrated scanner, then what you're going to have to do in the task package is make sure that you check this box down here that says use an external scanner. So that way, whenever the operator says scan, it turns on the appropriate scanner.